Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Cece, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk USC Women's Basketball. And today, I got the opportunity to interview the GOAT, Cynthia Cooper. So stick around. I'm doing this for USC Trojans Wired podcast. It's an interview style. So sit back, enjoy, and hey, fight on. Welcome to the Trojans Wired podcast, and I'm honored and just humbled to be joined by the great four-time WNBA champion, four times MVP, Olympic gold medalist, and Hall of Famer, the great Cynthia Cooper.
Oh
Welcome.
God. Oh God. Thank you. Thanks. I'm excited to be here. Let's talk SC basketball.
Let's talk SC basketball. I hope you know this podcast relates to a lot of the USC community. So there's a lot of new USC fans that know who you are, but they don't know your journey. So I really want to take them through your journey of from the beginning, from your high school career all the way up through the WNBA. And then we'll talk a little bit about NIL and this current USC program. Okay, you ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's start with Locke High School in South Central. And you know, something I found out about Locke High School is that that school opened up in 1967, right after the Watts riots. So, growing up in South Central in that environment, can you walk me through how it was growing up in that environment and what led you to basketball?
Well, I mean, I went to Locke High School, but I grew up in the projects. So Imperial Courts and Nickerson Gardens were they were my first home. Um, and elementary school, I went to 118th Street Elementary School, Gompers Junior High, and then of course ended up at Locke High School. So I mean, obviously life was tough and gangs and drugs and violence. All around constantly. But I will say that my hood took care of me. So, I grew up in Watts actually, and it was tough. Life was tough. I really didn't come to basketball until later in my career. Well, I ran track, I played volleyball, I played softball. Heck, I even played badminton. Anything to try to get a scholarship to go to college and further my education. Started playing basketball when I was a sophomore. Well, really, 15 years old. So I was going from middle school to high school. And that's kind of when I started playing basketball, fell in love with the sport, and really felt like it was an opportunity to further my education by getting a scholarship because, of course, we were too poor. I mean, we were worried about the next meal.
Yeah.
So you can't be, worrying about paying for school when, you don't have the means to pay for the school and further your education. So I really felt like basketball could be the sport. Once I started playing basketball, I really fell in love with it, right? So I've never been to a basketball camp, never been to a clinic, never played AAU basketball. I only had one scholarship offer, and really that offer came after Locke High School, after we won our state championship. So that's kind of when I had an opportunity, and I knew that I'd be able to further my career, further my education, and then further my basketball journey.
Was that the scholarship was from USC?
Only one. USC was the only school that
Wow.
offered me a scholarship.
Yeah.
Fred Williams, head coach Linda Sharp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now you guys won the state championship, but that's when it was divided into city and CIF, right? It was two different championships, right?
Yeah, it was two different championships, which is why I didn't run into Cheryl Miller
Yeah.
during my kind of path to basketball. But I had I started playing in the 10th grade. I played 10th, 11th, and then my senior year, we won the state championship. I averaged 31 points.
Yeah. When you got to USC, how was that? Was that a big mindset and the environment change for you? Because coming from Watts into this new environment, how did
Yeah.
that affect you mentally, and how did you adapt to that?
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. Like it was a total change of scenery, mindset, people, mentality. There's just a level of excellence that you're expected to have when you are attending USC, both academically and as an athlete. So there's a level of confidence that every person walks around with on that campus, and I really didn't have that. I felt really like a fish out of water. I really felt like I was outside of my element and didn't know if I belonged there or if I could handle being a student athlete at USC. So, I had a lot of doubts when I first got on campus, but my freshman class, Tracy Longo, crazy as ever. She would just take me to all of the rock concerts and we would go almost everywhere together. Yolanda Fletcher was also a freshman that year. So both Yolanda and Tracy would just jump out the gym. Oh my God, they were super athletic. Um, and then my roommate, Leanne Sarah, she was the one that kind of calmed Cooper down because I'm gonna tell you, I was a little rough around the edges.
I bet. I bet. With the coaching staff, who did you migrate to at that time? Who was your confidant? Who helped you with your confidence with regards to the coaching staff there?
Well, really, Fred Williams, Coach Williams was my first kind of line of contact. But I had a great relationship with Coach Sharp, and she understood me. She was very, very patient with me. I will say also our athletic director, Barbara Hedges, at the time, she was really good with kind of meeting players and young women where they were to take them to where they needed to be and where she wanted our team to be as far as image, as far as intellect, and really the journey to opening kind of that the windows of the world for to her athletes. And so once again, she met us where we were. And of course, I had a lot to learn, a lot to learn. So I would say Coach Williams, but Coach Sharp and I had an incredible relationship. And then Barbara Hedges, she was fantastic with, just kind of being patient with me and getting me to where I needed to be as a woman of Troy.
Did you when you first met Cheryl Miller and the McGee twins, how was that dynamic? Because Cheryl Miller was from Riverside and the McGee twins were from a whole different state and you're from Watts. How was the coaches able to mesh your personalities to be able to manage that?
Well, I mean, it was tough, I think, at the beginning because no one knew what to expect. Like I said, I was a little wild child, rough around the edges, and pretty much said what was on my mind and pretty much threatened anybody and everybody. No, I'm just kidding. Not everybody. So when it comes to the McGee twins, they would never make a time. So they didn't make the mile time. They wouldn't make the sprints that we had. And so that really frustrated me because I'm like, look, y'all good and all. But if I have to keep running these sprints at the end of practice, y'all, somebody getting ready to get their ass whooped. Yeah. So, we
I could
had
see you saying
those,
that too. I
yeah.
could just picture you saying that.
No, not only did I say it, I actually moved down to the end where they were getting ready to sprint to make sure I got to them first.
That's hilarious.
Um, so, because before I was down with the guards, I had to come down to where the post players were so I could make sure that if they didn't make this next sprint, it was on and popping. Yeah. Cheryl Miller was just great, man. So, I had a chip on my shoulder coming in. I felt like I was it, right? Like I knew everything that I knew. What I didn't know is what I didn't know.
Right.
And, when you see Cheryl Miller playing games, she scored 105 points. She's the talk of the town. She signed with SC. And now we become nationally ranked. And it was all, I just, in my mind, this is hoopla. This is all, pushing, pumping her up. And then I saw her in practice. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I saw her grab a rebound and finish it with her wrist above the rim. And
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God, like, Coop, you got to get better. Like, you're not as good as she is. Like, she is incredible. She's amazing. So, I didn't tell her that, but she's just the greatest I have ever seen play. And all I wanted to do was get better and be like her and be as good as she was.
What did how did it affect you when you found out you were coming off the bench, that you weren't going to start, that you were going to be sixth player?
Yeah, I was pretty pissed off. Like I mean, I felt like I had paid my dues in the sense that, I got to SC, I transformed my game. I kept getting better every single year. Averaging, like I said, 31 coming out of high school. Just after 3 years, that was just my third year playing. So as a freshman at SC, I'd only been playing for 4 years. So I felt like I was pretty good. And I knew Cheryl was better than me, but I felt like I should start. I didn't understand the whole concept of being a sixth player, a spark plug, you know, coming in off the bench and providing a spark for the team. Like I didn't understand that concept. Um, but finally, it was Linda Sharp. Coach Sharp just, I mean, I was complaining. I'm like, yo, I'm better than such and such, or I should be starting. And then she set me down with some stats. And she's like, look, Coop, every part of the game, every important part of the game, you're on the court. You're on the court every important part of the game. Look, you're averaging such and such minutes, right? Now, whether you're starting or not is irrelevant because you are on the floor in every important moment of the game. And so I had to concede that, right? I had to change my mental my outlook. I had to change my outlook as it related to team basketball, and that I could still be an important player and make a difference on this team coming off the bench just as much as I could if I was in the starting five. Like the starting five doesn't define whether I'm going to be a great player or not. Really playing my role and adjusting to the team and being a great teammate, it was much more important than being the star on the team. It was embrace your role and be the best in that role for that team so that we could be champions.
How did Linda Sharp manage three superstars effectively with score balance and getting along on the court?
I'm glad you said three superstars because that's really at the time all there were was Pam and Paula McGee and Cheryl Miller. And really, I was kind of that person, that question mark, that nobody really knew who she was and what she was going to bring each game. So I was really able to kind of skate by a lot of times and be under the radar and and really be a student of the game and see what was going on the court and how the defenders were playing and what was working offensively and what wasn't and how I could get some what I needed to be prepared for when I got on the court, right? So I was literally just studying the game, and then when I got in there, I was really just plugging holes, right? So if it was a shot, it was a shot. If it was a mid-range, that's what it was. If it was defense, I played defense. If it was getting to the rim, that's what I
Defense?
did.
Wait. Did you say defense?
I rarely played defense, but
Okay,
I
thank
I
you.
played a little. Look, I played defense because I didn't know I was playing defense.
Okay.
Now,
I just
look,
wanted to clear. I just wanted to clear that up because you said,
yeah, I ain't
defense.
never been no. Ain't
Yeah,
never been no. That's never been my role.
yeah.
My role has never been to make defensive player of the year. That ain't my role. Now I can contain and contest, but and I will deny the ball,
Yeah.
but I ain't really playing no defense. Now
Yeah.
I be in the passing lane, so if you deflect the ball, I'm gonna get the steal. So it looked like I'm playing, but
Yeah.
hey,
I had to catch that because
oh
when you
yeah,
said
yeah, yeah.
defense,
Clarify
yeah,
that.
glad to clarify.
I really just needed to morph into whatever my team needed for us to win. And
Yeah.
that was my role coming off the bench. But I thought Coach Sharp did a fantastic job with just blending the personalities. But the most important thing that she did was make everybody believe in the same thing. And that's winning the championship. Being a great representation of our university on the court and off the court. That's what she was great at. She had everybody believe, we all believed in one single goal, and that was to win a championship, an NCAA championship for the women of Troy.
And you guys did it twice.
Yeah, yeah. So we won two national championships. We got to the championship game 3 out of the 4 years that I was there. So it was a great time. Actually, the '83 season, remember, I was all up in arms about not starting. Well, we were the first all black starting five in the NCAA finals because I
Wow.
ended up starting by the time we made it to the championship game. So it was we was the first all black starting five to win a championship. So yeah, it was great. It was
Wow,
great.
I
You
never
did a
thought about
fantastic
that.
job.
I never thought about that. And I never really looked at it like that, but that's big.
Yeah, yeah. I was I didn't think about it either, to be honest. All I thought about is playing basketball, but history is history. And
Yeah.
no, for me, I've always, been that underdog and that people didn't necessarily believe I could achieve certain things. And I always had to, I felt like I had to fight to make them a believer. But then when I had sisters and teammates like the McGee twins, like Rhonda Wyndham, like Juliet Robinson, Leanne Sarah, who kept my head screwed on straight forever. Cheryl Miller, the McGee twins. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Kathy Doyle and Terry Huff, and I mean, I just had Jamea Bond. It just we just had a great group of women um, that really believed in the same thing and wanted the same thing. And we probably had the best walk-ons for like in the history of the sport. Melissa Ward, who every single day, she pretty much gave her body for the benefit of our team. And she might defend the twins. She might be defending Cheryl. She might get an elbow in the head and jump right back up and make us better. We played together. We played on the second five against the McGee's and Cheryl and we tried to make them better and in return we got better.
That's awesome. And then before we jump into how you got to Italy, what after you graduated from USC, what was the biggest lesson you learned from that your whole college experience that you have still with you today?
That I could do anything. Like I can do anything I set my mind to. I guess the biggest thing I learned was confidence. USC really opened the windows of the world for me, to me. Um, and I was able to walk through those doors and out those windows and really confront anything that happened in my life because I gained that confidence and intellect and it's just the ability, the work ethic. I got that all from USC. I mean, I probably had the work ethic going into USC, but I learned how to refine all of those skills and really persevere through tough times. I learned that I was good enough, that I was strong enough, I was fast enough, I was good enough, and that anything that came up or any obstacle that tried to stop me, that I could overcome those things. I literally left SC with that level of confidence.
So you go from Watts, which is a totally different environment, into SC, which is a new environment for you that you had to learn and adjust to. And then you take your talents over to Italy, which was a totally different environment. How did that come about? And just talk to me about your experience in Italy.
Yeah, so Italy came about. I played my very first year in Spain in a small city called Betra, right outside of Valencia, and I averaged almost 45 points there. So I
Wow.
was given an opportunity to then move over to the top league, which was Italy at the time. And I averaged right around 40, 39, 40 points my first year in Italy. And nobody really wanted me. They wanted other guards and they wanted post players. They figured they had enough guards. When you start talking about the Italian players, and they felt like they didn't need a foreign guard. And if they did, they wanted someone like a Teresa Edwards or someone with a name. Remember, I was playing behind three Kodak All-Americans, Pam and Paula McGee and Cheryl Miller. So nobody really wanted me, but I got over there. They gave me an opportunity and I just showed up. I showed them what I could do. I showed them what I had been holding back because although I came off the bench at USC, although that was my role for those teams, I never stopped believing that I was great. Like I never stopped believing that I was a go-to player. Even though my role on those teams were different, it never stopped me from working towards greatness. So by the time I got to Italy, I was ready to burst. Like I was ready to come on the scene and really showcase what I could do, and I did. And then while I was in Italy, I really developed my game, right? So I would constantly add to my game, my ball handling, my shooting, not my defense, but my getting to the rim, my ability to score on two people, score with contact, score in transition, half court, really gain more basketball knowledge, how to be creative and get my teammates involved and make my team better with my ability to draw and kick. So all of those things really developed and matured overseas. I learned the language, io parlo italiano, so I learned I speak fluent Italian now. And it was just a great overall experience, a growing experience for me, both as a player and as an individual.
Can you say, Cece, you are the best in Italian?
I will not say, Cici, you say il migliore.
Okay.
No,
Can you
I would not say that.
can you say, Cece, you're pretty cool though in Italian?
I ain't doing that either.
Come on, Cynthia. Why you giving me a hard time?
See, so what happens is, oh, am I frozen?
Yes, you're freezing right now. See, I did that. Okay, go
Yeah, you
ahead.
probably did. You probably did do that.
Because you're
That's what
being mean
happened.
to me. Go ahead. What were you
No, that was
saying?
it. I just had a great time in Italy. I toured around the country, learned the language, um, and I developed. I just developed as a player, because that's what was in my spirit the entire time. Even though, with different teams, I played different roles. In my heart, I was always a star, or I wanted to be great, or I wanted to be a go-to player, and I wanted to hit the game-winning shot, and I wanted to make the game-winning pass. And I just I will tell you this defensively. I took one charge at USC,
Yeah.
1983,
I heard
against
Cheryl
Kim
Miller talk
Mulkey.
about it.
That's right, one charge. Look, it was a block all the way, just to show you I really didn't know what I was doing. But they have been calling charges all game. So I'm like, if I try to block this girl's shot, they gonna call a foul. We're only up by two. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take a charge. This is split second. Split second, I'm gonna take a charge. I'm gonna take a charge. I sprinted down there and boom, took a charge. Cheryl jumping up and down. She picks me
Yeah.
off the floor. But they just were shocked that I took a charge. One.
Yeah.
That was it for
Yeah.
a national championship, baby.
Yeah.
Talk about being in the moment. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, she had to be shocked because she talked about it on the last podcast on All the Smoke. So she must have been, she's talking about it to this day. So it must have been a
Yeah.
big deal.
Well, yeah. Well, and it wasn't just like it was for a championship. Took a charge for,
Yeah.
teammate, defense, baby. I'm just
That's
gonna morph
funny.
into whatever we need. Didn't I say that?
Yep,
Oh,
yep,
needed a
yep. And you
charge.
did it. You did it. You did it. So then, how long were you overseas for?
So total 11 years. 1 year in Spain, and then 10 years in Italy.
So when you got that call, how did you feel to go
Yeah,
play
well,
for
I didn't
Houston?
really get the call. I called them. So I called the WNBA. So I'd heard that they were going to start two leagues. One was going to be called the ABL,
Hmm.
and the other one was going to be a league kind of sponsored by the NBA. They didn't know what the name was going to be, but they knew it would be under the NBA umbrella. And it would be kind of a summer league. They didn't have a lot of information, but the league was going to start in the summer, and it was going to be sponsored by like the NBA. And then there was this other league that was going to play kind of during the regular basketball months. Um, and so I called the ABL. I was trying to get on with the ABL. So I called them. I said, "Hey, my name is Cynthia Cooper. I'd love to be able to try out for a team." Nothing was ever given to me growing up in Watts, so I didn't mind trying out and going up against players. And what they said, no, they said they were good. They didn't need any more guards. And I quote, "We don't need any more guards." So I said, all right. So I went back overseas, played overseas, and got prepared to play in the WNBA. But this time I got stats ready, I got video ready, I put everything together, ready to send over to the WNBA. Because by that time I knew the name of the league. And so before I sent it over there, once again, I placed a call, said, "Hey, I spoke to Renee Brown and I told him this is Cynthia Cooper. I have this package I'm sending to you. I really want an opportunity to play in the WNBA." And she was like, "Cynthia Cooper from Italy?" And I said, "Yes. I'm going to send you this package." She's like, "Oh, girl, you're in our top 8. Where do we send a contract?" And I just
I know you were happy.
Yeah, like I was just shocked. I was surprised. I just really was overjoyed that I was going to have this opportunity, not just to play in the WNBA, but to come back in America, play in front of my family, my friends. I lost touch with everyone. They didn't know what the heck I was doing, where I was in the world, and now I could come back and play in front of my family and friends. And so, when she told me that, I told her where to send a contract. At the time we used fax machines. I'm like, "Yo,
Mhm.
fax that contract over. I'll sign it tonight." It was night my time, and it was in the morning their time. So that was the beginning. And she told me that I would be playing in Houston. What Houston didn't know is that I already lived in Houston.
Yeah.
So I had a house in the suburbs of Houston, out in Sugar Land. Um, so it was meant to be.
Sugar Land, Texas. So you get to Houston and you meet Van Chancellor. What do you think of him?
I couldn't understand him. He was just talking, "Go up yonder, go." I was like, "Oh my God, this guy is country." It was great. He's so funny and just had a great personality. I knew we would get along. I knew he didn't really know me other than the clips that they had cut up for him to show what I could do, and he also knew I was older. And I think really in general, both the league and the Comets just thought, I was just gonna, keep the team straight until Cheryl Swoops got back from her pregnancy leave, her maternity leave. And so I just had other plans. I'm like, "Look, yeah, I know y'all don't really know me, but it's about to go down."
Yeah. And then they saw you play.
Yeah, they saw me play, but once again, I think in the back of their mind, they're like, "Yeah, but she's 35. She might have 1 or 2 years, and then we go and win a championship, and then I'm the MVP."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, okay." And
Yeah.
then we did it again the next year. Like I think they really believe year 2, I wasn't gonna be as good as I was year 1. Um, but I just had a different mindset, different plans.
Yeah. And you kept your body in shape too, huh? Were you constantly working?
Yeah, you got to keep your body in shape. You got to stay in shape. You got to, I did take time off after seasons. I would take a month off. Probably I would take it off from basketball, but I would also take it off from like pounding on my body. I would do some non-weight bearing cardio just to keep my cardio up and some body weight stuff, but I really didn't do anything extra strenuous until after that month. And then I just stayed in shape. You stay in shape, you don't have to go get in shape. And then I would get stronger and stronger every single year, just because I knew what my body needed, and I wanted to always be prepared for the first day of training camp.
Yeah. And then again, here you are again on another team with superstars, right? Tina Thompson, Cheryl Swoops, and yourself. And then you have Van Chancellor. Tell me the dynamic of how he managed that and what his philosophy was of making sure everybody got their touches and was effective for the team goal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he needed a philosophy as much as he needed players that would cooperate and that would play their roles. The what I like to tell people is that there are a couple different dynamics that we had that were unique. We had the best player, the number one player in the draft. Then we had the best player kind of coming out of the Olympics and had just won a national championship with Texas Tech. And then we had this lady who really had both Olympic experience, college championships overseas. She was just a veteran. And the fact that she was also a really, really good player was a bonus because what ends up happening is, when Tina has her bad games, then Cheryl and we could provide shade and cover and protection, and as she kind of matured into the Hall of Famer she is today. Same with Cheryl, same with myself. Like we kind of had each other back in that sense. But also, we are very different players. Tina Thompson was a stretch four, real tough with her back to the basket, but then so smooth, silky smooth on that three-point shot. Cheryl was more of a catch and shoot player. She played great defense, cat quick on her fast breaks, little spin move. But she was more of a catch and shoot. Me, I was a slasher. So I'm a slasher, I'm creating, I'm trying to get to the rim. I really only shot the outside shot just so that I could make the defense play up on me and I can go by him. So we were different players. And I know so many people wonder how we all made it work, but really, there are 60 to 70 shots in any given game. So, once you've taken 20 of those, there's plenty to go around. It's just about balancing. When are you going to take those shots? Who's going to take it? Who's going to have the ball in their hands? And I didn't think that there was any doubt that, especially in important moments of the game, the Houston Comets wanted the ball in my hands. Now, whether I was taking that shot or whether I was creating for others, there's a whole different matter. But I think everybody wanted the ball in my hands in important moments of the game. And I think that's because I had proven it, right? I had proven it the year before. Then I was proving it year two with the influx of the ABL players. And I never relented. I was like, yo, let's get this done. Whether I'm my in and out move or my run off the glass or finishing with contact or getting to the free throw line, I just constantly got better and better, even when I was in the WNBA.
Did you remember, like nowadays, now you won 4 championships in Houston, you won championships overseas, I'm assuming, right? And then you won at USC. So you have this championship pedigree. And then you leave the WNBA, right? And you actually coached, didn't you? You actually coached Phoenix for a year, if I remember,
Yeah, yeah.
right? What made you go into coaching, or what made you take that job?
Well, I mean, I wanted to coach, I wanted to teach, I wanted to pass the torch on. As a coach, you can't, you're never perfect. Of course, I made tons of mistakes, and you know, my heart was always in the right place, but you know, I just regret making the mistakes. But I always wanted to pass along what it takes to be great, right? What it takes to win championships, what type of work ethic you have to have, what type of mentality it takes to show up every single day, every single practice, and every single game. So, you know, love coaching, but I probably love being a player a lot more because you're on that court, you're in the fire, you can pull the strings and make the adjustments right there on the fly yourself. But it's all about passing the torch on.
Yeah, I would imagine that, like when you have so many championships, under you, and you're a great player, you when you're coaching, you want everybody to be like that. I mean, that's your goal, right? That's your passion. Like you kind of want people to have that championship pedigree. You want them to think like they can be great.
Right, but I want that in everything. Like I want that with people who are trying to be the best mom or the best wife or the best friend. I always want that. Like I said, my heart was in the right place. I think I did want them. I probably wanted it more than they did. Um, I probably wanted it more for them than they wanted it for them, which was probably a mistake. But at the end of the day, tons of things I could have done better. And, but, just as wanting it more for them than they probably did was probably stopped me from being a more effective coach.
Was that the biggest lesson you learned from coaching? Was you wanting it to
I mean,
more than them?
I learned tons of lessons from coaching, but
Yeah.
the number one thing is, my heart was in the right place. Regret my mistakes. Um, and if I had to go back, I probably would do a lot of things different.
Yeah. Now let's focus on this USC's team right now and the Juju Watkins era and the different ways that basketball was when you were playing compared to how they're playing today with more spacing, the way they run their offenses, and the way a lot of teams now have a dominant player and the offense is focused around that player, and then everybody else are role players. What's your philosophy on that type of uh, game management or team dynamic, especially with the portal? Because if players aren't getting the playing time that they want, a lot of them go into the portal because they want to play.
Yeah, I don't agree that there's a real big difference in the whole star system versus role player system. I think with every team, you have your stars and you have your role players. If you go look back at our team, we had our star, we had our role players, and then we had, like, I remember when we were in the 83 championship game, when we needed a bucket to go up by two, Coach Sharp and the McGee twins actually was like, Coach Sharp, run the play for Coop. Like they ran the play for me. I wasn't the star, but they knew that Louisiana Tech was going to be all over Cheryl, and I had hit some important shots in previous games, and so they knew I could step up to the plate. I think right now with the transfer portal and everything, I think coaches are nervous to coach, like to teach, to critique, to make adjustments. And I think that hurts instead of help. Coaches need to be able to coach you. They need to be able to make adjustments on the fly. Sometimes their passion might seem like they're being negative, but really it's just the urgency of the moment. I think the portal it just throws the X factor in there. It can make a team that's not so good or that graduated someone super important. They can get better very, very quickly in the very next year with the portal. So it really it's really a toss up. I mean, now you didn't see TCU in the tournament, years ago, and now all of a sudden, you know, they get one player, and then other players want to play with that player, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden TCU is something, something to be reckoned with. So I think when I go look at the UConns and the USC and the South Carolinas and even LSU's, you have the players that are stars, but then you have other players that step up to the plate, and any given night, anybody can have 30, 40. But Paige Beckers is still the star of UConn, but I think it was
AZ Fudd, yeah.
AZ Fudd, who won the most outstanding player
Hmm.
of the tournament. So I think it can go either way. The number one goal on every team has to be to win a championship. And every player has to embrace and play their role in that team for that team to be great.
Yeah, I agree. But sometimes I think a lot of players come in expecting to do one thing and then they don't get to do that one thing that they thought that they were going to do. And then, how do you manage that?
I mean, you manage it by being honest. You've got to be honest with players, which is why you see players in the portal every year. You've got to be honest, because what you can't do is say something different than what you see. And so it's on film. You have to be honest, and you have to, once again, get to a player where they are, meet them where they are, and hopefully get them to where um, they want to be and you want them to be. And so I just think it's about as much as it's about the coach and the coaching staff, it's about the player. You know, a lot of these great players, they want to be great. And because they want to be great, it's easy to tell them, hey, you know, do this, or get your elbow in on your shot, or make these small adjustments and it'll take your game to another level. Great players want to be coached, great players want to get better, great players want to be taught, and great players work.
Yeah.
They're in the gym. I heard the story about Juju when she had a bad game as a freshman. Instead of pointing the finger to other people, she was in the gym getting up
Yeah.
some extra shots before the next game,
Right.
working on moves, on one-on-one moves. And I will tell you, there has never been a game that I've played that I took a shot that I didn't practice first. Every shot that I've taken in a game, I've taken and worked on in practice.
What do you think is going to take Juju's game to the next level? What's the next step for her?
Well, I think Juju knows that, right? I think Juju is just a great talent. And she has a level of not just talent, but basketball IQ. And one thing that I think is important for Juju is that she understands how to separate the stuff off the court from the stuff on the court, and how to
Absolutely.
have that high level of focus on what it is she's trying to achieve. Some people can focus on it for a little while, but Juju has the ability to zoom in, know what she wants, know what it takes to get there, and then do it. And then sacrifice what needs to be sacrificed in order for her to be great. Not everyone has it, but Juju has it. And even with this unfortunate injury, I could just see her right now saying, all right, this is what's the plan? Like, okay, what are we doing? What
Yeah.
steps do I have to take? What rehab do I have to do? Okay, where do I have to go? Do I can watch film now? Just whatever it takes for her to come back to greatness, I could just see her focusing on nothing but that. Of course, it's tough. It's a mental struggle, it's a physical struggle, but she has the toughness and the focus and the drive and the passion and determination to do it. Some people say they have it, but when it gets down to the nitty gritty, they're looking for it. They're searching for it. They need it from other people. They need other people to give it to them. And I think when Juju looks in the mirror, she's able to give it to herself. She's able to be strong for not just herself, but her teammates and her friends and her family.
Yeah, well, she sure does have this LA community behind her, that's for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy the way the LA community is behind her, and now the
Not
USC
the
is like
world.
back up on the
The
map.
world is behind her. Because
Yeah.
I can tell you, people over here in Texas, they're rooting for her. Everyone's rooting for her. She's a great kid. She's
Hmm.
humble, but dang it, she be working, man.
Yeah.
She put in work. And let me tell you something else. She shows up. Juju shows up.
Yeah.
When it's a big game, you ain't finding her in the corner hiding someplace. You finding her at the top to keep with the ball in her hand.
Yep.
Juju shows up on offense, she shows up on defense, and she constantly shows up for her team, her teammates. I can't say enough about just the mental strength it takes to show up every single day. Every
At her age, at that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't even want to talk about her age. She's where she's supposed to be. Of course, she shows the heck up. Coming into USC, there are a lot of expectations, and she just showed up. 50 points against Stanford out in Palo Alto.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
That's somebody showing up.
Yeah.
Beating number one UCLA
Twice.
home
Yeah.
at UCLA.
Yeah.
That's showing up. Like, she didn't just score. She defended, blocked shots,
Yep.
passed the ball. Like, she showed up, and I think she's going to show up for herself, overcoming this injury and getting herself back right.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so. I can't wait to see her back out on the court as everybody else. Look, we've been talking for a while, and I know you got other things to do, but before we go, I do want to do some rapid fire questions,
Oh
right? So
Lord,
just the first answer that comes to your mind, and then we'll do a couple of these, and then I'll say goodbye. Um, so the first one is, what's your favorite food?
gosh, my favorite food is pasta with
Is that
meat.
from being in Italy? Is that you just got used to it, or
You know what? That's not my favorite food. My favorite food is gumbo. The gumbo my mom used to make every Christmas when I came home from overseas. Yes,
can you
gumbo.
cook gumbo?
Yes, I can cook everything. Don't try me. Everything. Smothered, from the hood, Italian food, make my own pasta, hamburger. Yes, you name it, I can cook it. Wait, hold on. I don't cook chitlins.
I was gonna say, do you eat chitlins?
Yeah, no.
My son loves chitlins.
Oh my God. I got a whooping because I wasn't going to eat chitlins. Yeah, I ain't eating chitlins. Anyway, keep going.
um, color. What's your favorite color?
Green, olive green,
Dark green, light green, any green.
olive green.
Olive green? Oh, I thought you
Yeah,
said I love green. I'm sorry.
no,
Um, favorite genre of music?
gospel.
Gospel. Who's your favorite gospel artist right now?
Yolanda Adams and hold on. Yeah, Yolanda Adams.
Do you like R&B?
I do like R&B. So I would teeter. You said one. So I would say gospel, but yeah, I'm a huge R&B fan. Luther Vandross, Whitney Houston.
Old
Yeah,
school.
but I even go old school. Sometimes I'm back there with Stevie Wonder, and
Yeah.
I have a wide range
No, Stevie Wonder
of
is
music that I
he's the
love.
man. Stevie Wonder's the man. Luther's the man. I just watched his
Ricky
documentary, by the
Franklin.
way.
Yeah. You said
Did you?
what?
I just watched his documentary. That Luther has a documentary out. You should watch it if you haven't. It's really a good documentary.
Okay.
Um, let me see. Birthday.
I'm an Aries. April 14th, just had a birthday, turned 62. Bam, bam.
Favorite cuss word. Don't say it if it's just what. But what's your favorite cuss word?
MF.
Really?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Or just, yeah. I mean, I'm a good cursor when I'm mad, but I really try to stay away from, yeah.
Recently? Or
No, just when
because
I'm
no,
mad.
no, because okay.
I mean, I know you've known me for a while, so
Yeah.
um, you got to remember, once I learned better, I tried to do better. Before I was kind of, uh,
I
uh,
see
uh,
you got me
uh,
laughing 'cause
uh,
okay,
uh,
yeah, okay,
uh.
okay. You don't have to, but I know you can sing, right? Can you still sing the way you used to?
Yes, I can sing,
Okay, all
but
right.
I'm not going
I
to.
know you're not going to, but I just want the people to know that you do have a beautiful singing voice.
Yeah,
That I will
I can
say.
carry a note or two.
Yes. And at one time when you were in the W, didn't you sign a record deal?
No, I didn't sign a record deal, but I did some. I did a little some stuff, but no, I
Yeah,
didn't.
but it wasn't singing, it was rap, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because you can rap too, right?
Um, I'm not. I'm not a rapper, but I can rap.
What's your favorite article of clothing to wear?
My favorite article of clothing now, tights. I
Yeah.
love just throwing some tights, trying to find jeans that fit my butt with my long legs. And man, it's just a beast. So I love my tights, t-shirt, sneakers, and I normally have a hat on covering my weave. But
Okay, that's it. I'm not doing anymore because you're gonna have me rolling if I keep
right
going. So,
on.
so look, hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate you. It's always good talking to you, and hopefully we could do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, fight on.
Take care, man. Fight on.